Hello, this is Christy Strickler for GetItScrap.com, and I'm here to share some ideas for telling scrapbook page stories about Thanksgiving, then and now. Holidays always provide a touch point for looking at the traditions that endure and the inevitable changes that occur over time. We're going to take a personal look at Thanksgiving experiences from our Get It Scrapped creative team. I want you to pay attention to how they've documented the story, their page design, the motifs and the elements that they're using, as well as the photo size and placement. Our first scrapbook layout is from Heather Awesome. She says, as an expatriate living abroad, the people in my life are constantly fluctuating. This page is about the varying cast of characters who I have spent Thanksgiving with for the last 10 years, with a couple of gaps in my memory. On this page, I used the photos that I happen to have and filled in the gaps by journaling a complete list. Remember, you don't have to have the photos from every event to bring together a story from over time. And as you're looking at the layouts today, that's something very important to keep in mind. You don't have to have photos. You can use photos from another time period or no photos at all. A lot of times it's going to be the motifs and the patterns that you choose on your scrapbook pages that fill in those blanks along with the journaling. So here she's used that list journaling. It's just very simple with the year, where dinner was, and who she was with. It doesn't have to be this long novel. As far as the page design with the elements, she's used that faux wood pattern. And I love using wood grain on pages where I'm talking about home or being cozy or being with family and friends. It just adds a warm touch. She doesn't have any traditional fall or Thanksgiving pattern papers here or elements. She's got the let's eat, so you know this is a dinner time page, and then she has that pattern paper and the flare with the silverware on it. Those are simple, but enough with the title that it gives you an idea of when this story is taking place. Our next scrapbook layout is by Summer Christensen. It's a little bit different from the prior layout in that the journaling goes more in depth. So the previous layout was really about all of the different people that Thanksgiving dinner had been with, where it had occurred, and what years. There's a lot of changes that were demonstrated in the list journaling. Here, the Thanksgiving dinner is taking place pretty much in the same spot, but the kids have changed in age, and Summer wanted to write more in depth about her feelings about those changes and why they went back to doing things in a certain way. What I want you to pay attention to in this one is her photo placement. That's the key to making her story work. Summer says, the story here is of how we spent Thanksgiving when the kids were little and how we changed that, and then how we eventually went back to the original way once they weren't babies anymore. I placed a photo of then at the page top and tried to drive the point that it had evolved to the now by using a larger photo at the bottom. I connected the photos by placing the title in the middle and leaving it open to interpretation. So she's drawing your eye into the focal point, that main photo, the now, but she's got the smaller photo that shows you the then. And she's connecting them with the title. Again, we don't really see any Thanksgiving themed scrapbook papers or embellishments on the page. This is all purely about the story here. And she's using the photo placement to drive that. This page is by Katie Scott, and we're going to further talk a little bit about the use of page design. Katie says, I have traced my family directly back to the 7 of the Mayflower Pilgrim families, Alden, Billington, Brewster, Brown, Cook, Doty, and Warren. And I wanted to share that information by connecting it to our current family in an interesting way. I used the leaf motif in a downward diagonal arrangement to connect the past photos and the current photos. What she's also done is to cluster the photos, and we're going to see that again in a layout a little bit further on in the video. So she's got kind of some old vintage photos of the first Thanksgiving on the upper left side, and then on the lower right side she has current photos of herself with her family. The title Then and Now also plays into this. She's got then closer to the past, and the now, that word, closer to the present photos. The leaves, you could say they're for autumn, but I think they're more for like the family tree motif. They kind of work both ways. This page by Amy Kingsford demonstrates that you don't always need to have photos to tell your story. Amy says this page is about how much our Thanksgiving meal has changed since I was a kid. We used to do a big family meal hosted by my maternal grandparents, which included time-honored family recipes, a kids' table, and a feast that was spread throughout my grandparents' entire home. Now that I have my own family, we do things differently. We've added and subtracted certain dishes to accommodate the picky eaters and our new family favorites. We've even been known to set up the TV in our dining room so that we can all sit down together, talk, eat, and watch football. In a comparison page that spans quite a few years, it can be fun to mix patterns and textures from both eras. Here you'll see I've brought together splashes of gold and warm woods, a geometric pattern, and a damask. So we're seeing the repeat of the use of the wood grain, which I mentioned before, kind of gives a warm feeling and lends that feeling of family, friends, and you could also say it brings about a bit of solidarity. She has a few elements on the page along with the title that let you know it's Thanksgiving. She's got the silverware, the little card with the grains, she has some leaves. In place of photos, she's included little place cards that have the number of people served and the exact menu that was served that day. So this is a wonderful way, along with what she mentioned and where she's bringing the patterns together from both eras to tell her Thanksgiving Then and Now story. Our final layout is a 2-page scrapbook layout by Debbie Hodge, and this is the page I referred to earlier in which I mentioned that photo clustering can be a great tool to tell your story. Debbie says this is a compilation of photos from 8 different Thanksgiving celebrations spanning 10 years. Since we don't live near family, we've celebrated at different spots over the years. We've hosted, we've often gone to the home of a dear friend, and we've traveled to upstate New York. I grabbed 2 or 3 photos each from several Thanksgivings and grouped them in clusters along with glitter alphas, spelling out the year each cluster shows. Most of the groupings are a series of 3 landscape-oriented photos, but then 2 of the groupings are just a little different for variety. The title starts at the upper left and finishes at the bottom right of the second page to help guide the eye. So this is something you can do whether you choose to make a one-page layout or a 2-page spread. You can group together clusters of photos from each year to span a large frame of time. We've seen a lot of examples today of documenting Thanksgiving then and now. What you need to keep in mind is that everything you've seen today could be replicated for just about any other holiday or family gathering that you might do on a regular basis. These scrapbook layouts were originally part of an article on the Get It Scrap blog. We're going to link up to that article for you in the notes for this video. For more inspiration, visit getitscrapped.com/blog.